Hi, welcome to the Fun Factory on Patreon, Early Childhood Education. I'm Miss Sadie, and today we're going to start things off with our infants. Yesterday, Sunday, I did a demonstration video on Patreon, and basically it was just to get my audience, my patrons, um, an idea of what it is that this platform is about, and it is about early childhood education. And the goal, there are many goals, but the main goal is to see that every child whose parents would like for them to have an in-home library, that they begin to make that. How will they make that? They'll make it with the books that are going to be sent to them when their parents pledge at the $20 level. And the reason I say pledge at the $20 level is simply because of postage. And oftentimes I may not be sending one book. It could be possibly be more than one. So in order to receive different materials through the mail, newsletters, and just a lot of information. Part of a lesson plan that we're going to be working on with infants, preschoolers, pre-K, and toddlers. You'll be getting that in the mail as well, along with materials you're going to need to help your child, to support them in whatever learning activities that we're doing. It's going to be fun. With you working with them, it's definitely going to be interactive. So today I decided to start with, since it's Monday, it's a school day, my infants. And I say my infants because whenever children are in my care, they are mine. And I mean that in the figurative sense, simply because uh, I'm responsible. I'm responsible for pretty much how their day goes. Um, are they happy? Are they feeling okay? Are they all right? And oftentimes people will say, well, babies are. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. I think babies, because they haven't developed language yet, at least speaking language, verbal, they have language. And you have to be able to understand what that language is. When they're crying, when they're fussy, whatever's going on with them, when they're active, when they're inactive. Uh, you need to know and you need to work with them in order to just make their day as pleasant and light as possible. So, we're going to get started with our infants. Let me introduce you, okay? And like I said on a previous video, that the names I've given my children are the names of children that I've cared for over the years, and I still remember so many of them. I've got dozens of pictures, but yeah, and I remember certain instances about them, and it's fun. It's always been fun for me. So right over here is Haley. Next to Haley is Robert. Next to Robert is Danae, and next to Danae is Pierce. And these are the infants we're going to be working with for today. And I also have something I'm going to interject in a little while, and I want to get your opinion, see how you feel about it, because it is what happens in an infant classroom when you have the ratio is 1 to 4. Yeah, I don't know who decided that one person could adequately care for 4 infants all at one time, but that's the standard. To me, it's just maintenance. It really is. It's. I've been there. That it's just maintenance. So what I did was, whenever I was given infants to care for, and they would be in their little seats, I always worked from the floor. Work from the floor. I'm working from the floor now, and I would put them in front of me so they could see me. And if I was substituting for someone, I would just try and figure out what's going on with it. Sometimes I would take them out of their little seats, and I'd have a quilt on the floor with a lot of blankets underneath and a clean sheet, and lay them on that. So if they were ones, even though they were infants, and that's considered from birth to 12 months, some of them could be crawling. Some could be rolling, hopefully, from side to side, and they needed that space. The only time I would pretty much put them in their crib is when they were sleepy or they were kind of fussy. And even though I may be substituting, I knew them. I would put them in their crib, just to give them some space to kind of like just relax and perhaps fall asleep. And that's crucial. You have to know your children. You just have to. Otherwise, you'll be doing things that you think on your own is what they need, and it totally isn't. So knowing your children is super, is major important. Okay, so what are we going to do today? Basically, You start your day. Parents bring the children in, and you greet the parents, and you have exchange a few words. You find out, at least I did, about their night before. How did they sleep? When they woke up this morning, how were they? On the ride in, or if you pushed them in a carriage, however. Then once they turn them over to me, I just go along with what I think that they're feeling right then and there. Do they need to eat? Um, Whatever's going on, and then I set up my schedule, even though we have a schedule on the wall. The infants have their own internal schedule and their own internal clock. So, I mean, it looks good. You can have a schedule for them, but oftentimes it changes, okay? It changes. So, at any rate, sometimes I might just start off singing to them, singing a song. Good morning, good morning. And maybe all of them aren't in yet, but perhaps Danae. And let's say, let's put this to the back. If Danae is 6 months old. Danae, how is Danae? And maybe her little hands will go up and her fists and her feet will start kicking. Yeah, I'm singing about you. I'm singing about you. And maybe Robert is in. So this early in the morning, I just have two. Robert, how are you? And if they're both in front of me, I'm just singing from one to the other. How do you do? I couldn't get them all on screen if I put them on the floor, but I wanted you to see them, so I put them up here. That's Robert. Through the course of the day, we know that children are in care 8 hours, 9 hours. I don't think they're allowed to be in care longer than 10 hours, but believe it, some children are here for 10 hours a day. At any rate, if you know your children and you've got these little pianos, you can show it to them. Maybe they can't distinguish colors, but just the fact that sound is coming from it. You can also do this with the toddlers too. But we'll get more into that with the toddlers when I set up the program for toddlers as far as the lesson plan and what we're going to be studying and how we're going to learn about different animals. Just so many things. How we're going to learn about the alphabet. What is the alphabet? Counting. Not by rote, but counting in quantities. At any rate, you start off with the infants. I'm sorry, Danae. You don't like being my goodness. So sorry. I'm sorry. Now, you wouldn't laugh at the child, though. But this is Pierce. He was a little too close to the edge. I'm sorry, Pierce. I'm so sorry. Oh, you all sad? Remember I said I had something I'd like for you to hear? Here it is. Oh, Pierce. Oh, he got hurt. Oh, Pierce, I'm so sorry. Oh, it's going to be okay, buddy. It's going to be okay. Yeah, you just tipped over a little bit, that's all. Yeah. Things happen. I fill out an incident report. Yeah, that's my buddy. You know what? If he was that close to the edge, it could happen again. So for safety's sake, I'm going to move him over here. Danae, you're okay. Yes, you are. Oh, Haley, you too. And oftentimes that's what will happen. You get one crying, and then the whole room starts crying. Meanwhile, Haley has come in, and they call that a sympathy cry. It could be pretty quiet, but then again, it can be very loud and very noisy. Everybody wants in on the act. That happens, and I'm sure if you work with infants, you know that happens. Legos, even though we're not going to be working with Legos with infants, but you can they see the colors. Come on. They can hear the clicking. I'm going to build something. Yes, I don't know, maybe a bridge. What do you think? No bridge? Okay. How about a school building? All right. And what I'm trying to stress is talking. They need to hear your voice. And if they hear your voice constantly in a non-threatening, safe way, it's going to keep them calm. Oftentimes children cry, infants cry, because they can't figure out what's going on in their world. And there may be something that's upsetting to him that we don't have a clue about. But if they hear your voice and you can say, oh, wow, Haley, it's okay. You don't have to be upset. You might not even have to pick her up with just the sound of your voice, but they have to hear that. They have to know that it's you, and they have to know that you're nearby. Believe me, they can sense it. Don't think for a minute because they maybe don't see you that they don't know that you're there. They do, especially if you have interacted with them, they're in your care, you've held them, you've rocked them. This is all part of early childhood education. And I had someone ask years and years ago, I'll never forget it. Well, why does this center need a baby teacher? I've been taking care of the babies all this time, and she felt really hurt by that. So when she and I were talking, and I said, well, simply because babies learn. What do they learn? And I knew I couldn't explain to her, but I said, well, this is how they feel. They feel comforted. They feel safe. It gives them a sense of security. And she's like, yeah, right. Um, and the researchers say that that's really what's going on. That's what happens. You know, I don't know where this, probably an old wives' tale, came from as far as spoiling children. Only food spoils. You can't spoil a child. But once a particular myth, I guess, gets spread around, people tend to believe it. But the more you hold a child, the more you comfort a child, the calmer and the sense of security is going to develop in that child. So even if you're on the other side of the room and you're fixing lunch or you're fixing bottles or whatever, or you're at the dressing table changing a child, if that baby hears your voice, okay, I'm over here. Robert, are you okay? I'll be with you in a minute, buddy. All right? It's called mother ease. Yeah, you do it with a sense of warmth in your voice. Okay? Now, this is my buddy. The kids love it, even the infants, simply because I let them move around. I let them move around. Their eyes get big and their hands start flailing in the air. You can use large animals like this as a puppet, and you can also use the hand puppets, the smaller ones. You can talk about a firefighter. Look, wow, who is this? Who is this? Haley Pierce, what do you think? Firefighter, yeah, they live in your neighborhood. Yes, okay. What else can we do? Singing songs, such a crucial part of it. Music. Like I said, you're not trying for a contract. You don't have to be able to really sing. But to them, it's your voice. That's what they want to hear. Hey, Mr. Sun. And make sure that you're making eye contact, that you can see them, they can see you. Mr. Golden Sun, please shine down on me. Yeah. It's just so many activities to do throughout the day. And one doesn't necessarily have to follow the other one. But if you have a lesson plan and you go by that, pretty much you can kind of interject if you wanted to do something in the morning but didn't have time or something prevented, you could do it in the afternoon. You know what time your children arrive. You also know what time they get picked up. So it's more than a challenge. People always use that word, oh, doing this, that, and the other is a challenge. It really is if you're responsible for 4 infants. Any child that's under 12 months old, uh, it's a challenge. You know, I'm going to tell you that. Books, they don't have to be able to read the words, but they can see the pictures because they're visual learners. And they will just pictures, especially if they're animals and if they have bright colors to them. Other things you can do with infants. Let's say if you've got a few blocks and you just want to talk to them about something. You can put the blocks right down in front of them. Uh-oh, what are we going to build today? Well, I put I don't know. What is that? It looks like a boat to me. Well, you can't put a boat inside. What about, wow, who is this? It looks like a cake. Oh, it must be somebody's birthday. Now, what I've said to adults who hear it doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, I'm not talking to adults. I'm allowing the infants to hear my voice and to get to hear the intonations, the inflection. I'm not concerned about the adults, as I shouldn't be. I'm here to care the little guys, okay? So whatever I see or say or whatever I do, it's on their behalf. Uh-oh, need a couple of more blocks. Oh, this is going to be... I see a bell. I see a bell. What else? Uh-oh. All fall down, and then you can knock the blocks over. It doesn't really matter. But the puppets, I think, and the books are really important. They love looking at the animals. Uh-oh, what is that? One little ducky went swimming one day over the hills and far away. Now, if you get one that starts crying, you can just cut it off. It could be annoying. Or maybe they just don't want to hear you sing. It's okay. We can take some of our clues from them. Okay? So this is just a really a short, I guess you would say, just a little short demo of what we can do, how we can work with infants. All right? And there's so much more that we can do. But today is Monday, and tomorrow is Tuesday, and I'm going to have my lesson plan ready for what we're going to be doing throughout the remainder of the month of September. And I'll also give you um, some information about what we're going to be working on in October. How you can, once you sign on to Patreon platform, and once you sign up and pledge at the either 5, 10, or $20 level, what you will be getting in the mail, how you will be getting that. We're going to talk about story extenders because you won't just be getting books just to be getting books. There's going to be things that go along with the book, what we call story extenders. So if you're reading to your child and perhaps they don't really understand it, there are activities you can do when you finish reading that will give them more clarity about what the story is about. You'll see as we really get involved. I'll explain as much as I can, and you can ask as many questions as you feel you need to ask. And that's part of what the number to the landline will be for conferences. And because we can't communicate otherwise, I will have a chat box and you can ask questions there. And it may be a question that 15, 20, 30 other people have, and I can answer that. But as far as conferencing is concerned, something that's specific to your child, then that's going to be where you have the landline number and we'll schedule a date for conference and then we'll move on from there. Because that is the goal. We've set goals and we put in place plans of how to reach those goals. And this is all part of early childhood education, the way that I see it, the way that I do it. And I say I do it because over the years I've been told that I do things out of the box. And I explained to people, well, I never knew there was a box. But as I began to work within different schools and different programs, I could see that there was a box because I saw teachers, all of them doing the exact same thing every day. Even though they were different classrooms, they were always doing pretty much the same thing every day. And what I found interesting that and sometimes difficult to understand is when we would go to do workshops and perhaps the presenter will be giving us different ways of teaching and different methodology to use. Um, Sometimes it kind of wind up um, coming back to the same thing. In my classroom, it didn't. Whatever I learned in a lot of those workshops, I implemented it in my classroom. And the children just learned so much, and we were just happy with it. It was great. That was the purpose of the workshop, to teach us different ways of teaching, actually. So, at any rate, like I said, today's Monday, and tomorrow is Tuesday, and tomorrow we're going to go over the lesson plan. We're going to talk about how you can do it, how you can set it up if you work during the day outside of your home, or if you work and you work in the home. You know what your schedule is like, but you're going to have to create a time and a space where you're going to spend time with your child, supporting them in their learning activities. It's going to be hands-on, so there can't be any interruptions, and you're going to need your materials in place. I'll also tell you tomorrow what it is you're going to need. Dollar store is probably in every community, so if you will have to purchase certain materials like paintbrushes, paper, that kind of thing, glue, um, And those are items that you're going to be using. We're going to be using. And we're going to use them in a fun and interactive way. And your child's going to be very excited when the mail comes and a package comes and their name is on it, strictly for them. Okay? So, I'll see you in the classroom. Don't forget to pledge. Fun Factory, Early Childhood Education.